Just 60 seconds to gather yourself after being knocked down in the last round. Wow! One punch power has ended this fight. Can you believe that? There is no way he could continue on. It is done.
What up, team, and welcome back to Big Boys Boxing. Today is my first day of freedom. Kids are back at school today. Yeah, I'm born free as the wind blows, as free as the grass grows, born free to follow my passion of boxing. So over the weekend, we had a couple of heavyweight dust-ups that I want to have a bit of a yarn about, and then I'll open up the lines and see if anybody wants to jump on and have a chat. So firstly, there was a and this is a bit of a joke, Trevor Bryan versus Bermain Stavern was for the WBA regular title, thanks to some Don King manipulation, I'll put it. Let me do a quick sound check here. Bryan versus, sounds like it's all good. So the fight itself went pretty much how I thought it would. Trevor Bryan stuck behind his jab most of the night, threw the odd right hand, was quicker than Bermain Stavern, which isn't very hard. Dude's 43 years old now. He managed to land a few shots, did Stavern here and there with the overhand right. Bryan wasn't actually that hard to hit, and that's saying something for a very washed Bermain Stavern. But all in all, Trevor Bryan broke him down with that jab most of the night, and then started pouring it on in the 11th round. Caught him with a couple of good right hands, put him down once. He looked very shaky. He got up, he beat the count. The ref let it continue. Then Stavern got caught with another right hand. He was just about out cold. He was on his back. He did manage to get up and beat the count. And the ref jumped in a couple of punches later. Stavern wasn't really able to defend himself, and Trevor Bryan becomes the WBA regular champion. Not without some controversy, of course. When I said Don King was manipulated the situation, he sure as hell did. He didn't give Manuel Cha, who was supposed to be defending the WBA regular title, he didn't give him a signed contract, so he could not obtain a working visa to get into the States. He had a travel visa, but he wasn't allowed to work because he didn't have any confirmation of the work, thanks to Don King not signing a contract and sending it to Manuel Cha. And then Don King put in a request to the WBA because he effectively stopped Manuel Cha getting into the States to fight. He put in a request to put Cha as a champion in recess and have Stavern fight for the title. And actually, I'll have a quick look. I'm pretty sure Stavern doesn't even have a WBA ranking, so how the hell is he able to fight for a title, man? That'll make no goddamn sense to me. Let me have a look here. Have a quick squiz. Give me a sec. Bring up some rankings. Pretty damn sure he ain't in there. Oh, he boxing scene's got rankings. WBA. Manuel Cha still says he's the belt holder there. Robert Helenius, Trevor Bryan have won. They haven't updated the rankings for the WBA on this site anyway. They may have on the official WBA site. Oh, Bermain Stavern was ranked number 11. Okay. I don't know how the hell he's even got a ranking, to be honest. hasn't been in the ring since he got wiped out by Deontay Wilder. But anyways, Bermane Stiverne got knocked out in the 11th round, and Manuel Charr has filed a lawsuit against both the WBA and Don King. And wait for it, there's bound to be something from Fraser Kendo as well. He's been trying to block everything to do with that WBA regular title. But the WBA did approve Stiverne and Bryan for the WBA title, putting Charr in recess, but with the condition the winner, being Trevor Bryan, has to face Manuel Charr by the 30th of May. And if the fight hasn't been organised before then, they will set a purse bid and we go again. And no doubt Don King, if he hasn't carked it, the old sneaky fart, will definitely be trying to swindle his way to stop Charr getting in there again against Trevor Bryan, the WBA regular title holder. We have Adam Fahey in the house. Good to have you in, brother. So that was that fight. I will be dropping a link shortly if you want to join me, Adam. I just want to get my ramble out about these two fights. The second one that was worth watching was Michael Polite Coffee versus Damani Rock. Now, I've heard some people say this fight was a bit of an upset because Damani Rock was 20-0 or something, but he never really fought anybody against Michael Polite Coffee, who not many people really know much about Michael Polite Coffee. But I'd heard of him and I saw his last fight against Joe Yabel and thought to myself, shit, this guy has a pretty evasive style. He's good with distance. He doesn't have a huge punch output. He likes to box on the back foot, catch and shoot a lot, counter punches, but he's a big heavy set dude with pretty good reflexes and a very decent amount of power with a good punch selection. He boxes out of southpaw most of the time as well. He can switch hit. So I think this guy, to be honest, is going to be the next best thing coming out of America. Michael Polite Coffee. He's ex-Marine. I don't actually know his age. I think he's not that young. Hold on. Michael Polite Coffee, box rec. But I like this guy's style. I really do like this guy's style. He's 6'5". He's a big unit. 83-inch reach. So he's definitely got the right physical attributes. Where's his date of birth? Debut. He's 34 years old. He's no spring chicken. He's only had 12 fights. But he's 12-0. And he knocked out Damani Rock in the third round. Now, the first couple of rounds were pretty cagey. I was expecting that from Michael Polite Coffee, most definitely. That's just how he fights all the time. But Rock didn't seem to know how to get around the counter-punching style of Michael Polite Coffee. He was trying to go to the body now and then, but every time he did, he was getting countered big time. And after the second round, his coach gave him a bit of a rev up in the corner, said, you're going to have to pour it on a bit more than this. And Rock came out in the third round pretty much going hell for leather, and I think that was the worst thing he could have done. He could have stepped up his volume a little bit, tried to go to the body a bit more to slow down Coffee's evasive style, but he went hell for leather and left himself open a lot. He pushed Michael Polite Coffee back to the ring, back to the ropes, and started trying to go to town. He did land a good left hook, but immediately a right uppercut came from Michael Polite Coffee. That stopped Damani Rock's action, and then he stepped back into his left and came through with a big left uppercut, just about spun Damani Rock's head clean off his shoulders. He went down and he looked like he didn't know where the hell he was. He got up to his butt and was sitting there looking like, what the hell was that? What happened? And saw the ref, and he got up and I didn't think he actually beat the count. Jack Reese was the ref, and he stood up at 9.5, and Jack Reese kind of didn't say 10 when Damani Rock wasn't right up, but he gave him the opportunity, and he did let it go again. And it was only 2 punches later. I think it was Polite Coffee threw another left uppercut, and it kind of caught, but then he threw a big left hook as well, and that put Rock down again, and that was the end of the fight. Jack Reese called it off. But very impressive from Michael Polite Coffee, and I think this guy's much better than any of the other prospects that I've seen in America at present. You know, like Trey Lippy Morrison, or obviously Damani Rocky's much better, he's just knocked him out, or Cassius Chaney. I think he's even way better than Jermaine Franklin. So, you know, I think if he's managed along right, Michael Polite Coffee could do some very big things very quickly. I guess the best way to describe him would be he's much like Fabio Wardley, but bigger. I think he could be in better shape for his fights as well. At this stage, just let me look at the weight of this fight that he had on the weekend. He was 270.5 pounds, so he could have been in better shape. Damani Rock wasn't really in great shape either at 261, but Damani Rock seems to have issues with not training properly for most fights either. So we'll see how it goes. So I am getting over to the chats. Michael Polite Coffee versus Carlos Takam next. Yeah, I'm not much of a big fan of that fight, to be honest. It's a good name for Coffee to get on his record, but I think he'd blow Takam out of the water, to be honest. I think, just judging by Takam's last fight, I think he's done, mate. I think he's really done. Adari, I think that's how we say your name. Apologies if it's not, but a decent shout, something along those lines. You know, a decent name would definitely be a good move for Polite Coffee. I'm not sure if he's under the PBC banner or not. I guess he is, because I don't think Damani Rock is. He just made himself a free agent recently, so that makes sense for a non-PBC fighter to be on there. I will drop a link in the chat here and pin it to the top for anybody who may like to join. Come and have a yarn about either of these fights, or just anything else in general boxing at the moment. That's pinned to the top. I better go and get into the chat channel myself. Boom, I'm in there. So if anybody wants to jump on, hit that link. If you've got a Discord account, you'll be straight in. Otherwise, you'll have to sign up to Discord to get in. But yeah, we'll see how Michael Polite Coffee goes. But I want to see more of the dude. I like his style. I like his punching power. I like his catch and shoot style. So I'm interested to see how he gets on. We have Adam Fahey in the house. How are you today, brother?
What's good? What's good?
Yeah, it's all good. The weather, no kids. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you catch these 2 fights over the weekend, mate?
Yeah, I managed to watch them. Like you've just said, that Coffee win wasn't really a surprise to me either, to be fair. Yeah, I just sort of thought that he would actually get the business done, and did in pretty decent fashion, really. Yeah, I'd say he's sort of, well, he's an older fella, but he's sort of up there with the likes of the Andersons and co as your US prospects. But Yeah. And what was the other fight you were saying about? Oh, Bryant versus Severn.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a joke, really. But that's Don King at his best.
Yeah, well, I heard somebody say it. Trevor Bryan looked like an old George Foreman in there, really, didn't he? had the weight on around the belly. He had that jab as well. Maybe moved his upper body a little bit better than old George did, but certainly not as much power. But yeah, old Don King does it again. But he's got to fight Char before May 30th, apparently, or have a fight sorted by then.
Yeah, 120 days, I think it is.
Yeah. Do you think that's actually going to happen, or do you think Don King will try and pull another fast one?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets put out again to purse bids and someone in Char's management makes sure they actually win the bid.
Yeah.
Because, I can imagine he will try and take it back to Germany and get Bryant out to there. But I struggle to see how Don would have even paid Char if that fight did even go ahead.
I think that's probably the main reason he pulled these shenanigans, because he couldn't afford it.
Yeah, I think that is very on the mark.
Yeah. Do you think Char would have been able to beat Coffee? I mean, not Coffee, sorry. Brian?
It would have been far more competitive. I'm not too sure. I probably would favour Char slightly, but that was that Trevor Bryant version. If he comes in a bit fitter, then I think it probably leans more towards Bryant's favour. But really, the top 30 heavyweights at best, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's pretty hard to get a gauge on where Char is at as well. He hasn't been in the ring for 3 years, so... but yeah, Trevor Bryan being that fat, I've never seen him that bad looking condition-wise. But he hasn't been in the ring for a couple of years either, so it's pretty hard to judge him too much. But I thought maybe even Stavern put in a pretty good performance for a 43-year-old who hasn't been in the ring for a long time. What did you reckon there?
Well, Stavern's done very well to be in there, considering he hasn't won a fight in 5 years. Something crazy like that anyway. His last win being the Rossi win, but even that was sort of thought of as being a very, very close fight. But yeah, no, it is what it is, really. It's a run out really for Bryan, who sort of lucky enough got elevated from an interim to a full champ, courtesy of his promoter there. But yeah, for him, it's sort of on to the next, I'd say, and Char and I've sort of been trying to float it out in social media that I sort of think that the winner of that should be sort of mandated to fight the at the time's WBA gold champion. So currently that's Hellenius, but yeah, I'd love to see that regular title being stated as a like a mandatory holder, like a position.
Indeed.
And you're then above, obviously, the rankings, and fighters can fight for rankings whilst the super champion has to then face the regular title holder.
Yep. Yeah, well, considering that is actually the belt that has all the heritage with the WBA, it should mean something instead of getting passed around all these guys who aren't even really inside the top 10. It's kind of disrespectful to all the people who have held the belt in the past, isn't it? So at least make it like a mandatory to the super would be a great idea. But yeah, like you say, it is what it is. Well done, Dog King, but to a real boxing fan, it doesn't really mean anything.
No, not at all.
So, yeah, we've gotten all that out of the way. I did see a comment there. Who would you like to see Michael Polite Coffee in against next? We do have a comment here from Adario. I don't know if that's how you pronounce the name, sorry. But he suggested Carlos Takam earlier, but he's also put in here Christian Hammer. What do you think of that matchup?
Yeah, well, Takam is washed. He's almost getting into the territory where he'll actually hurt himself if he gets put into a decent fight. But yeah, Hammer would be decent, but again, he's now sort of gone to a mould where he looks to survive and just go the rounds and earn the payday. If he is with PBC, someone like a Washington, that'd be quite a good fight, I reckon.
Indeed.
And would definitely elevate him, not only in their own rankings, but in regards to getting him in front of the people. But yeah, it's sort of interesting there, like the WBA rankings come out and Bogdan Dinu's up into 3, so he's going to be ironed out by either Ortiz or Ruiz. So that sort of looks to be what they're looking at doing anyway, most certainly. But if that leaves Washington open as a guy who needs an opponent, then I'm sure Coffey would want to test himself.
Indeed. What about another PBC fighter who's unbeaten, and Jermaine Franklin? What do you reckon of that matchup?
Yeah, that'd be decent. I just get the feeling like they're going to try and build him to a 25-0 type sort of situation.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Coffey is quite the right sort of person at this time for him. That he may think completely opposite to that, but I don't know, sort of with how they've already positioned him so far in his career, if he'd actually take that sort of a challenge.
Yeah, I agree. He's one of the unbeaten prospects that they've got that's fought a few half-pie names, so it makes sense for them to try and keep building him up. I did hear a whisper that Gerald Washington might be fighting somebody. I can't remember who it was. I've just brought him up on BoxRec, but can't see anything there. But yeah, I'd like that fight as well. Gerald Washington and Michael Polite Coffey sounds good to me.
Yeah, because what they sort of had penciled in was Wilder v Martin, Hellenius v Kalnacki, and Ruiz v Areola was all meant to be in the pipeline. And I'd seen somewhere crazily that they were looking at Ruiz v Areola being on pay-per-view. Yeah, which is interesting. But yeah, so that sort of left Ortiz sort of out in the dark, and I was wondering if maybe they'd lined up Dinu with the number 3 ranking for Ortiz to keep him quite high in those rankings.
Makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Alright, so we'll move on to future fights, I guess. We've got one coming up, I think it's the 13th of February, between Dominic Breazeale and Otto Wallen. I quite like the fights. Your thoughts on that one, mate?
Can see Wallen winning that in a UD sort of Euro-style performance where he'll sort of frustrate the hell out of Breazeale, I think, while slowly but surely beating him up. But yeah, I don't really think Wallen can stop him. But I think he's athletic enough to get out of the way of those windmill sort of swings from Breazeale.
Indeed, it's certainly a possibility. From my point of view, I think you're probably right. A UD for Wallen is most likely on the cards, but I'm also thinking about that fight that Breazeale had with Ugano, and if he can get to Wallen's body and slow him down a bit, he hits like a mule if he can hit you. So I'm wondering whether Wallen's going to have the stamina if he gets hit to the body a bit. I think if he does get slowed down, there's a possibility Breazeale might stop him rounds 9-10 or something like that. But I'm with you. I think Otto Wallen's definitely the favourite, but I don't think he can stop him either. Unless, Breazeale's chin has been cracked by Deontay after that spectacular knockout that he had. So it'll be an interesting
Cracked many a jaw.
Yeah, indeed. May have turned it to glass. We shall see. We've also got our Kiwi Dust Up coming up. I think it's the 27th of February between Joseph Parker and Junior Farr. I'm just trying to bring up the card because I know David Naika's got an opponent now.
Juicy someone, isn't it?
And apparently unbeaten too, yeah. It's coming up. Spell it. Go Parker then.
Yeah, I think it's a guy that he's fought previously in the amateurs.
Okay.
Who had turned over, but sort of who hasn't Nika fought in the amateurs in Oceania. Really, he's been there that long.
Okay. Almost there. Here it is. It. Okay, yeah, so we've got Jesse Maio. Maio. Don't know who that. Yeah, he's 3-0 as a pro anyway, this guy. The fight's going to be at cruiserweight, of course. We've also got, who's this? Jermaine Pampalone.
Kiwi light heavy.
Light heavyweight. He's fighting the almighty TBA at this stage. So we've only got.
Oh, tough.
Yeah, unbeaten. Unbeaten. So it could be interesting. I do see Joseph Parker on the news the other day talking about his training pain-free since he's had his elbow surgery once again. Seems to be, or going to be, a reoccurring thing with bone fragments in his elbows. But we still haven't got any information about this undisclosed health condition that Junior Farr had surgery for. You haven't heard anything else, have you, about that?
No, not at all. But I've seen a bit of media of him of late, and he is looking incredibly trim from what he was. And I don't know if that's good or bad for Farr, to be honest. Because if he starts to lose any sort of a endurance from losing all that weight, as sort of guys sort of fill out to their own sort of weight that feels natural for them, then yeah, it might be sort of a walking KO ready to happen. But on the other positive side of that, obviously you can be a bit faster and a bit more agile. But yeah, it's sort of an interesting one. Yeah.
Well, since he had that first health issue and had surgery for, he's been in pretty good shape most of the time. Seems to have lost that spare tire that he used to carry around for a long time. But I haven't seen in his last fight, at least, that translate into more speed or agility. He seems to be a lot more flat-footed, you know. So, yeah, I watched a few of his amateur fights, and he seemed to be a lot more fleet of foot back then, when he was heavier. So, I don't know.
He seems to fight sort of like he's sort of thinking what's coming back as he's trying to throw, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like he's not like he's hesitant, but he's very he's sort of very aware of what could be coming back, as opposed to there's quite a lot of other guys that are sort of more than happy to just sort of get out of the way of it and keep going. Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit of a hurdle mentally, since he got put on the canvas by Dominic Gwynn. Didn't see that punch
45-year-old.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, Dominic Gwynn's a bit of a tricky defensive character, and he can bang if he can hit you, but I mean, yeah, he's 45 years old, for God's sake. So I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a mental hurdle for Junior. I don't think he's going to have the luxury of worrying too much about that sort of thing when he fights Joe. Joe's going to be aggressive, I guarantee it, this time around. He's already been in the ring with Junior 4 times in the amateurs, so he knows what to expect to a degree. I mean, they're certainly different fighters these days compared to what they were. But it's a pretty good fight. I still expect Joe to win. I don't know about a stoppage. It might be a UD because Junior's fairly defensively sound. But you got a prediction for that one just yet?
Well, I just sort of think that Parker probably will stop him. I don't think it'll be early, but just being caught by a 45-year-old Gwyn, who, yes, may punch harder than Joe, but if Joe is, well, he's 15 years younger and a lot faster. So if an older fella can catch him like that, then it's sort of just a bit, just something that's sort of in the back of your mind a bit, which might be what's in the back of his mind as well. But I'd probably favour Parker sort of 6 to 8.
6 to 8 stoppage. Yep, fair enough. I could see it happening for sure. I'd probably end up saying if it was a stoppage, it's probably going to be a TKO rather than a Spark OKO, if you know what I mean. But
yeah, certainly.
We'll see what happens. It's getting closer. I'm pondering whether I want to rebuy a ticket or not for that one. What about yourself? Do you think you might get to that one, or?
I was going to, but I probably won't now. Probably just order it on Spark and watch it from there. But I was at one point. If it was going to be the original date, I probably would have flown up for it.
Yeah. Also, a lot for me is teetering on if Hemi is going to be on the card and who he's going to fight if he is. If he gets a decent fight on that card, then it makes it worth it for me. I mean, I'm in Auckland anyway, so it's just down the road, but I don't want to be buying a ticket for a whole lot of crap fights just to see one fight that I want to see. So, yeah, guys.
Well, it's 3.5 weeks away. At the moment, all that's on the card is obviously the main fight and 2 amateur standouts making professional debuts. So, or not debut for the light heavy, but only in his first 2 or 3 fights. So, it's sort of definitely needs filling out, and I don't know where that filling out is actually going to come from.
I'm a little bit surprised that a couple of these Aussie boys don't want to get involved, considering we're allowed full crowds and everything over here. The likes of Dempsey McKean and Justice Huni. I thought they might want to get a piece of the action over here, but I don't know if
McKean has a fight day.
Oh yes, does he? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 13th of March. I think he's got a fight date.
Okay.
And Justice Huni's taking a, I think it's a quite a long break from boxing after he got a concussion.
Oh, was that in sparring or was that in that?
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't the Jonathan Rice fight.
No, this is Justice Huni is taking a break.
Oh, Justices. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'd imagine that might be just him prepping then for the Olympics. I'm not too sure, but yeah.
Okay.
Because he was scheduled to be fighting, I think, the end of this month, and then he was going to have another one, then Lucas Brown or something. But I think that's all sort of fallen over a bit. Rightio.
I'm just looking on BoxRec, and I can't find a confirmed fight for Dempsey McKean just yet. But he's obviously got something. Adam's pretty reliable with this sort of information usually, so we'll see what happens there. But keen on seeing Dempsey fight a bit more.
Yeah, most certainly.
Pretty ragged and needs some work, but it'll come if he keeps working hard. So, all good. A couple of comments here. Derek Chisora versus Michael Polite Coffee. That's a great fight. I like the idea of that one, but I don't think that'll happen being a PBC and a... Oh, well, Derek's not actually a matchroom fighter, is he? He's a haymaker fighter.
He's a free agent.
It could happen. But then there's the issue with COVID and crossing countries and all that at the moment as well. I like the idea of that fight though. That's a good fight. But it looks like if Joseph Parker beats Junior Farr, he's probably going to fight Derek Chisora next anyway, by the sounds of things. Derek's keen for that smoke now that he's got no other options after losing to Alexander Usyk. You got a few thoughts on that as well, haven't you, Adam?
It just sort of seems like it's probably the fight to make, especially if Usyk v Joyce is going to be made for that interim title. It's going to leave Joe in a very high sort of position with the WBO. So it'll be interesting to see if they even want to try and call a mandatory or something for that. But yeah, it's sort of like a fill-in fight for Parker, and that time frame is sort of like the middle to back half of the middle of the year.
Yeah. And from what I hear, David Hay was chasing David Higgins about getting that fight now. So kind of the tables are turned. Derek didn't want to re-sign to fight Joe after Joe's spider bite incident. Now Derek's chasing Joe. So I did see.
I've just got a phone call coming through here, John. So I just got to probably pop off just to answer this.
No worries, man.
All good. Cheers, bro.
Wait. Yeah, I did see. We're getting to the old memory for a sec. I can't remember what I was going to rave about there. Oh yeah, Derek wants to fight in the UK. He doesn't want to come to New Zealand. And conversating with Adam offline at some point, he remembers that Derek may have trouble getting into New Zealand, or has had trouble getting into New Zealand in the past, and that may be an issue due to some kind of criminal record. So maybe that's why he doesn't want to come down here. Or he's, there's a few people that think if you fight down in New Zealand, you're going to get New Zealand. Like Joe wouldn't have beaten Ruiz if it wasn't in New Zealand, or he wouldn't have been beaten Takam if he wasn't in New Zealand. Which I think is a load of horse caca, because none of the officials were from New Zealand in either of those fights. So you can't blame it on New Zealand bias. The only advantage is a home crowd, and they don't put out the scorecards. So, yeah, I don't think you can blame New Zealand officiating for those wins from Joseph Parker against Takam and Ruiz. But I did see Joe on the news talking about he will fight anyone, anywhere. So they're kind of hinting from David Higgins that they're keen on that Chisora dust up if they get past Junior Farr. So we'll see what happens. Can't be looking past Junior Farr, because Joe could possibly lose on points to Farr if he's not careful. But we shall see what happens. Alan Babic v Hemi Ahio. Yeah, that's a fight I've been talking about for a while. Eddie Hearn, if he brought Alan Babic down here and put that on that Junior Farr and Joseph Parker card, that would beef it up something wicked and give a whole lot of publicity due to the kind of cult following Alan Babic has. And it would give Hemi Ahio a hell of a lot of exposure all of a sudden too, because if you haven't seen Hemi Ahio fight, he's all action just like Alan Babic. So that's a great fight. Both guys are very similar size. What's Alan Babic, 6'2" or 6'1" or something? Hemi Ahio 6 foot flat. So both guys could make cruiserweight if they really wanted to, but they prefer with their heavy-handed styles to go balls to the wall and get some spectacular knockouts. So I'm looking forward to that, if it ever happened, but I don't think it will. Tony Yoka versus Cassius Chaney. Tony Yoka, I think, would beat the living snot out of Cassius Chaney. Cassius Chaney has no power. He's been knocked down. He's slick and fast, but that's all he's got. Slick and fast, but to me that's all he's got. There's a reason Cassius Chaney hasn't been stepping up his competition. He could at least fight somebody like Trey Lippy Morrison, who's also in the same boat. Hasn't stepped up, hasn't been really committed to the sport. But we'll see what happens. Tony Yoka, what's he up to? Has he got anything confirmed yet? Let's have a look. Tony Yoka is 9-0, still 7 knockouts. Last fight was Christian Hammer. Yeah, it was a pretty messy, dirty fight from Hammer. He beat Hammer over 10, but he's got a couple of good names on his record in the last 2 fights. Wow. For a guy who's only had 9 fights, Tony Yoka's got a pretty impressive record, man. He's got Christian Hammer, got Johan Dorper, he's got Michael Wallace, who at the time had only his 2 losses. Alexander Dimitrenko, Dave Allen, and then we get down into the not so recognizable names. Cyril Leonet was the French champion for a while, or Leonet is probably how you say it. In the last 2. The second professional fight was Jonathan Rice, who was Dempsey McKean's last opponent, who's a bit of a tricky character as well. So yeah, we'll see what Tony Yoka's doing. I think he's keen to get moving this year and get into a position to try and challenge for a title. So maybe we'll see him in the ring against somebody the likes of Robert Helenius, or maybe the winner of Robert Helenius and Adam Kovnarski would be a good opponent for him. Even the winner of Junior Farr and Joseph Parker would be a good opponent for him, or even the loser of that fight wouldn't be such a bad pick. But I'm sure there's something in the works. He's got some kind of French promoter, but he's also linked Top Rank now, so I wouldn't mind seeing a Tony Yoka versus Kurat Pulev. Wouldn't be a bad matchup, I think. Who else is there in there? There's Carlos Takam, another French matchup. I don't think I want to see that one. I don't really want to see Carlos Takam fighting at elite level anymore. Like we were talking about earlier, I think he's pretty washed. Who was that guy Carlos Takam fought last? It wasn't Jonathan Rice. Who was it? I'll look it up. Carlos Takam, Box Rick. Where are we? Oh, Jerry Forrest, that's right. Now, I thought that was actually a pretty competitive fight. It went 10 rounds, went the distance. Carlos Takam won it on points. I think I gave Forrest like 3-4 rounds, tops. 3 rounds maybe. Let's have a look what the judges. What did the judges have here? Scorecards had it 96, 94, 97, 93, 98, 92. So 3 rounds to 7, 4 rounds to 6, and 8 rounds to 2. Somebody like Jerry Forrest, I think Takam, if he was still worth his weight as a gatekeeper, should be beating him at least 8-2 consistently, or a shutout. And just watching that fight, I think I did a commentary stream on it. Takam was gassing too easily, in my opinion. So, yeah, maybe not such a great opponent for Tony Yoka, I think. Let's have a look at the rankings and see what options there are for Tony Yoka. Give a tick here, I'll bring him up here. We got rankings. Oops, clicked the wrong thing. Rankings. So, Tony Yoka, where is he? WBC, is he in here? Please, Joyce, White, Hunter, Hergovic, Martin, FA Jugba. Well, there's a fight, but I don't think FA will take that fight. FA Jogba and Tony Yoka. Ajit Kabiel, Tony Yoka. Wouldn't be too bad. So Tony Yoka's 13th with the WBC. Yeah, I think Kabiel, Ajagba, Hrgovic would be a good fight. Even Michael Hunter. Any of those guys, I think, would be a good fight for Tony Yoka. Everybody else is busy, I think. Usyk's busy from number 2. Wilder's going to be fighting Charles Martin by the looks of it. Ortiz at 3. Ortiz v Yoka. That's a good fight. I'd watch that one. And that'd, I think that'd take care of Ortiz and kick him out of the rankings, because I think Yoka would beat him. Andy Ruiz is going to be fighting Areola. Joe Joyce, number 5, is going to be fighting Alexander Usyk. Dillian White's got his rematch with Povetkin. Parker's got Farr. So yeah, Michael Hunter, I don't think he's busy. There's talk of a potential rematch between himself and Martin Bakole. But also Bakole Hrgovic is being talked about as well after Hrgovic's next fight. Charles Martin, I think he's going to be Wilder. Yeah, Effa Ajagba or Ajit Kabiel. If you want to go WBC route for Yoka, isn't a bad shout, I think. Where Yoka with WBA, is he in here? Holland 15. Oh, there's one. Frank Sanchez and Tony Yoka. That's a good shout too, I think. It doesn't look like Tony Yoka's in the WBA rankings. No, he's not. What about the IBF? Where is he? Is he in here? Tony Yoka is number 8 with the IBF. He's got Ajit Kabiel right above him as well. So there's another Ajit Kabiel, Tony Yoka. It's a good Euro fight. They've got Ioane Farr, which is actually his real name. Ioane Farr Jr. But it's Junior Farr's below Yoka at number 9. Ortiz at 10. Kubrat Pulev. Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely next fight for Tony Yoka would be Kubrat Pulev, considering they've both got that top rank tie. Dempsey McKean's in there, but apparently he's got a fight, like Adam was saying. Otto Wallen's got a fight. Zhili Zhang, I think he's going to be fighting someone too, off the top of my head. Mr. Boxing Today was talking about a potential fight with him and someone else. The WBO, is Tony Yoka in here. Evgeny Romanov, he hasn't really fought anybody. He needs to get moving, that boy. He had a long amateur career. His last fight, I think, was Sergey Lykovich. Damn near 50-year-old guy, shouldn't be fighting anymore. He's been sparkoed too many times. He needs to get moving. Tony Yoka, Evgeny Romanov, I don't see it happening, but there's an option. Daniel Dubois versus Tony Yoka. It's an option as well, but Dubois is going to be taking a lengthy amount of time off, I think, to let his eye socket heal. Hrgovic at 12, Dempsey McKean, Eric Chisora. If the fight between Parker and Chisora doesn't come off, maybe that's an option for Tony Yoka. But Yoka doesn't have a ranking with the WBO either, so then you got rankings with 2 bodies. I think Kabiel, Michael Hunter, Kubrat Pulev are probably the 3 most likely choices. I'd like to see Tony Yoka fight any of those guys. So that's my thoughts on Tony Yoka. Great idea of fights you got, yeah. Thanks, bro. Cheers. Ortiz v Pulev, yeah, I like that one too, but that's PBC in Top Rank. I can't see it happening unless it's for a final eliminator of some sort. But I think Kubrat Pulev's going to have to get a win or 2 under his belt before he'll be in that sort of position again. Because Pulev's got that top rank connection, he's probably got most pushed with the WBO, and he's ranked number 4 with the WBO. So yeah, has Cabiel got a top rank tie now these days as well? Maybe, can't think off the top of my head. I think he does have some kind of co-promotional deal. The Cabiel Pulev could be on the cards as well. Definitely got no Tony Yoka in the WBO, so he's only with the IBF and the WBA. Kubrat Pulev's at number 11 with the IBF and WBA. Oh no, WBC and IBF. Yeah. It's getting to a bit of a long road back for Pulev at his age, and been kind of restricted with who he can fight due to promotional ties. But Top Rank have got a good little stable there. I think Oscar Rivas has also got a bit of a link to Top Rank as well. So it's a possibility that Pulev may fight any of those Top Rank guys, besides Tyson Fury, of course. I don't think that's going to happen. Fury's going to fight who Fury wants to fight. Looks like it's going to be Joshua next for Undisputed, and then the winner of that's going to have to drop the WBO belt, so their rematch isn't going to be for Undisputed. And it's likely the winner after the 2 fights, or possibly the trilogy, is going to end up fighting whoever wins between Joyce and Usyk, which looks like it's getting pretty close to being made as well. So let's see what happens. It's all a bit of a hurry up and wait game for the heavyweights at the moment. It doesn't look like we're going to have crowds in most of the world for a long time, unless y'all come down to New Zealand and get it on down here. But possibly Aussie. I think they've got crowds for certain events as well. Yeah, it is what it is, man. So, couple of other... I watched the Caleb Plant versus Caleb Truex fight over the weekend. I see a lot of people are on Caleb Plant's case at the moment, saying he's not the stuff, he's good, but he's not the stuff. And he pitched a shutout against Truex. He didn't knock him out, and that's why everybody thinks Plant isn't the shiz. But the boy's got some skills. Can he beat Canelo? I don't think so. David Benavidez, could he beat him? I don't know, possibly, but Benavidez is very big for a super middleweight, and he seems to have a pretty good gas tank. As long as he can make weight, I think he'll beat Caleb Plant. Really, Benavidez is a cruiserweight, or he's just too lazy to make weight. So we'll see what happens there. Deontay Wilder versus Kubrat Pulev. I think Pulev would get pretty sparked pretty mid-rounds, I'd say. But I guess that's a possibility if Fury ends up fighting Wilder again, where they already have a co-promotional thing happening. That's the kind of fight that could possibly happen between Top Rank and PBC. I think it'd have to be a show where they're already co-promoting the main event. Otherwise, I don't know if it'll happen. These promoters seem to make it tough to fight cross-promotional fights unless it's for something like a final eliminator or a title fight, So there's a lot of fights that we simply aren't going to get to see because of politics, and it sucks peanuts. Wilder, who else could he fight? I think it's going to be Martin next. That's what all fingers are pointing to. Being Ruiz and Areola look like they're going to be busy. Apparently it's going to be on pay-per-view, but it seems that's the only shows that Chris Areola fights on these days is pay-per-view shows. Let's have a look at his last fights. It would sell really well in Mexico though, wouldn't it? With two Mexican heritage fighters. But we got here Cristobal Areola. His last fight was Adam Kovnarski. I think that was on a pay-per-view as well. Might not have been, actually. We'll just have a look. Was that on the undercard or something? That was pay-per-view? On the undercard of Marcus Brown. Opponent. Marcus Brown versus John Pascal was on the undercard of that. Can't remember if that was pay-per-view or not. But Chris Areola doesn't fight unless he's getting paid well these days. Or a tune-up, of course. His opponent before Kalnacki was somebody I'd never heard of. Gene Augustine. Actually, I have heard of him, but I don't know much about him. He was 17-0-1. Obviously, had fought nobody. Manzano Smith was the fight before that for Areola. He's the guy who Damani Rock fought before he fought Michael Polite Coffey, and then before that was Deontay Wilder. And previous to that, he fought Travis Kaufman, but that was back in 2015. He fought Wilder in 2016, and then had a 2-year hiatus. Came back, fought Manzano Smith, then Gene Augustine in 2019 after trying to build himself back up. But I mean, the dude's still got a ranking. WBC. I'm not gonna go looking for it. Yeah, Chris Areola and Andy Ruiz Jr. has been in the works for a long time. I think COVID put the kibosh on it for a certain amount of time, but I really want to see how Andy Ruiz is looking after being in training camp with Eddie Reynoso, Canelo's coach. Hopefully he's employed a little more discipline. He's not such a fat ass anymore. Maybe he can move his feet a bit quicker. And Derek Chisora and Chris Areola. I think Chris Areola would get the living crap beaten out of him by Chisora, to be honest. Areola's past it. He's got a good chin. He blocks punches with his face. It's not a bad dust up. But I think it's probably more competitive than Ruiz Areola, to be honest. I think Ruiz is going to beat the living snot out of Chris Areola. Going to make him quit within about 8 rounds. He might even knock him out, which not many people actually do. Top ranking PBC should be merged and become one. Oof. It could happen once Bob Arum and Al Heyman pass on. But until then I can't see it happening. But yeah, it's a great idea in theory. And if it wasn't all about these promoters trying to double dip, get both of their fighters on their card so they can get a percentage from both guys, it wouldn't be such a big deal. But it's all about the money. I need the dollars, dollars, dollars is what I need. I share with you my fighters, will you share your dollar with me? Alright, so what else is in the works? We got, looks like Canelo Alvarez is going to be fighting Avni Yildirim. Get that fight out of the way. I think that's a pretty straightforward win for Canelo. And then it looks like maybe in May, going to be, was it May or September? One or the other. Canelo Alvarez and Billy Joe Saunders looks like it's going to happen in a unification fight finally. Whether it's going to make it to the ring or not is going to be another question. We'll see what happens there. But like I say, Canelo's got Avni Yildirim to deal with first to get that fight out of the way. Are we going to see the first undisputed 4-belt 168 champion by the end of this year? Possibly, but unlikely. The last fight to unify would be Caleb Plant and Canelo Alvarez, but I don't think Caleb Plant's going to want that smoke from Canelo Alvarez unless it's going to be cash out, end the career, take the big payday, get knocked out, and then that'll be the end of that. Let me have a look on Boxing Scene, see what fresh news we got. I haven't even looked today. It's going to be interesting to see how this lawsuit goes from Manuel Charr at Don King. Is Don King going to come out squeaky clean, or is he going to get caught this time? I think it's pretty blatantly obvious that Don King not providing a signed contract to prevent Charr from getting a work visa is cause for losing the lawsuit from Charr. So we'll see. Alexander Rasputin to end layoff before there. Yeah, not interested in that one. What we got here? Just looking through some news stories now, see if I can find any new stuff. Errol Spence and Danny Garcia gate generates $2.6 million. Yeah, that's nice. Oh, Dennis Hogan is going to be fighting Tim Hsu next. That was kind of expected with how things are around the world at the moment. Makes sense to fight locally if you can. Dennis Hogan has a bit of a name. I think it's at 154. Dennis Hogan's fought at 160. Didn't look so good up there. But I think Tim Hsu's going to have it all over him as well. Got a date they're talking about here yet. Dennis Hogan, confident. I told my team to get Tim Hsu. They delivered. Okay, so it must be confirmed. Maybe I better look that date up. I like watching Tim Hsu. Always had this thing about famous boxers' sons getting special treatment because of their dads. I thought Tim Hsu was along those lines as well, but after watching a couple of his fights recently, he really does look like the goods, this boy. Really does. TSZYU. Yeah, we've got a confirmed date. At present, he's 17-0. Yes, it's confirmed. Dennis Hogan will be on the 31st of March. It will be in Australia. They haven't got a venue sorted yet, but yeah, that's definitely happening. So might get a few rounds out of Dennis Hogan. I think he'll get a few more rounds out of Hogan than he did out of Horn. Horn's well past his best, so is what it is. Kind of looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll have some other fights on the card. Let me have a quick look. There's surely nothing else confirmed yet. No, nothing else confirmed on that card as yet. Back to boxing scene. What else we got here? Saunders. I'll give my life to beat Canelo. He's never faced the Gypsy Man. Hasn't he? Did he not fight what's that moustache? The Monopoly guys. Mike O'Sullivan. Did Canelo not fight him? Not that it really matters. That fight, when it happens, I can't see how Billy Joe's going to win. He ain't got the power to knock out Canelo, and nobody beats Canelo on the cards. Nobody. To the eye, it could be very competitive. If Billy Joe's in his best of form, he's very hard to hit. He moves very well. He's very unorthodox, so he could make it very competitive. And if anybody's scoring the fight, it could be close on their cards, but you know how it is with Canelo. He gets favourable judges all the time. Josh Warrington, not interested in that one. Chocolatito will look to exceed 1,000 punches with Estrada. Chocolatito Estrada, that's a good fight. That'll be fun to watch, man. Doesn't matter who Chocolatito's fighting, is always entertaining. Andrade Williams, WBO middleweight title fight, heads to Perspid. Yeah. Julian Williams, I guess that is. And Demetrius Andrade. What else we got here for news? Caleb Plant. Not sure on hand surgery. I watched the post-fight interview. He says he hurt his hand pretty early in the fight, maybe the 4th or 5th round. It's pretty quick to say something as to why he didn't knock out Caleb Truax, right? I mean, the dude's got some pretty good skill. Has Caleb Plant, but if he fights a Canelo or Benavidez, he might not be able to hang on to his belt. But I can't see him. He's not shouting out David Benavidez's name, even though he's a PBC fighter as well, I think. We'll just see where Caleb goes. He's not that far through his career. So, yeah. Adrian Broner, the problem. He's headlining the card that Otto Wallen and Dominic Brazil are on. I think it's on the 13th of February, a couple of weeks away. So, what does he say here? I'm only 31. I can be past my prime. I can't be past my prime. Can I be past my prime? Man, lack of commitment to the sport is the problem for Adrian Broner. Can't keep his nose clean. Man, people, including myself, don't mind paying for Adrian Broner fights if he's against an elite opponent, because we just love seeing him get the shit beat out of him, don't we? It's worth paying for to see Adrian Broner get a hiding. on, if you think serious about a fight with Liam Williams, yeah, not interested. Not interested. Any listing, blah blah blah. So we got Tyson Fury wants KO, everything in my favor against Anthony Joshua, and they're talking up this Anthony Joshua fight so much. It's like, yes, it's a big fight. Yes, it's possibly for Undisputed now, which is great. But the amount of talk that's going on about it before the fight's actually been made, it's kind of pushing for hyping. Are we going to get another Pacquiao Mayweather? Is this not going to happen for a long time? It's starting to make me wonder. We know the hurdles that are in front of the fight. We know one of them is possibly taken care of, but there's no word from Alexander Krajcik, I can't say it, Usyk's promoter, whether they're actually taking this fight with Joyce and for an interim title. That's one of the hurdles with Usyk, but the other one is still Tyson Fury is apparently still in mediation with Deontay Wilder about this potential third fight, and that's why Charles Martin and Deontay Wilder hasn't been made. I heard that the mediation was over, but it's not. There's still the possibility of binding arbitration after the mediation, so there's still hurdles in the way of that fight. So don't get your hopes up too quick about an undisputed heavyweight fight. And even though it's going to be a fight for undisputed, it's only going to be for a minute. I've said it over and over and over. I would rather see Fury just face Wilder, get that trilogy and everything out of the way. There's no mandatories lined up for the WBC at the moment. Povetkin is the interim champion and he's got to have a rematch with White. So there's nothing at least for 12 to 18 months from the WBC. There's only the WBO, and the way there's no other mandatories for Joshua, there's no WBA, there's no IBF. There's only the WBO. If these guys let their promoters do their jobs and try and work out a deal, but in the meantime, Tyson fight Wilder and Joshua fight Usyk. Get those obligations out of the way. Then they're free and clear to have a 2 fights or possibly a trilogy for undisputed in every fight. It's defendable. So one of them could stay the man. I'd love to see it that way, but it doesn't look like that's what we're going to get. It just ain't. So a couple more stories we'll look for. Ryan Garcia beating Pacquiao and Crawford. What the hell is this dude smoking? No, beating Pacquiao and Gervonta in same year. My perfect 2021. Well, you ain't beating Pacquiao, Mr. Garcia. Especially not if it's 147. Garcia, what's he? He's a lightweight fighter at 135. Gervonta isn't a lightweight fighter. He's a 130 or 126 fighter, and he wants to fight him. He's so small. Stupid idea. I don't see where he thinks he's going to get the credit. But yeah, if he's going to fight Pacquiao, I've heard that there's some kind of catch weight at 145 or some crap. I mean, Pacquiao could probably make 140 no problem if he wanted to. He's not a big dude, but is there enough money in it for Pacquiao? He's a WBA champion at 147. Looks like he's going to vacate that belt. If he's going to fight this Garcia fight. I'm not keen on it. Ryan's got to do some stuff beating Luke Campbell at 135 does not qualify you to get a fight with Pacquiao. I can't see why Pacquiao would even want to fight with him. For me, there's not enough money in it. There's no belt on the line. It's just dumb. I heard a reporter. Who was it? Oh no, it might have been Garcia's coach or manager or something, saying Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis is the biggest fight in boxing. Are you freaking joking? There's some clowns around, man. There's promotion and then there's delusion. Anyway, moving on. I don't like Ryan Garcia. He's fun to watch in the ring when he's in a competitive fight, for sure. But don't forget, he picked his ass up off the canvas to beat Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell's not a big puncher. The other guys he's talking about, both Davis and Pacquiao, have been able to fight at very small weight divisions. They're way smaller than him, and he wants to try and get credit for beating these guys. I don't think he could beat either of them anyway. He's a knob. Social media hype job. Who does have a punch and does have some speed, but he hasn't proven it against elite competition yet. Besides Luke Campbell, and he's only borderline elite for me. What's this? Pacquiao's management. Send legal warning to anyone meddling in boxer's career. I don't understand what that means. Espinoza, not interested. There we go. Michael Coffey takes out Damani Rock. 3 rounds. Yeah, okay. We're pretty much up to date, so I'll get back to the chat and see what y'all are talking about, if anything. Magic Caviel, Michael Polite Coffee. Yeah, I like that fight. I like the idea of that one. Magic Caviel hasn't had a fight for ages. Former European champion. But he has that top rank link. Michael Polite Coffee looks like he's a PBC fighter. They should have a heavyweight Grand Prix. Boxing make things better. Yeah, a big heavyweight tournament, like a 16-man with all the sanctioning bodies on board, kind of like the World Series of Boxing, would be great. But the problem with heavyweights is there's so much more money involved. So it's hard to have enough money in the pot to run a tournament, or there's always going to be someone saying, no, I'm not getting paid enough to fight in one particular fight, so I'm going to drop out the whole tournament. And then there's issues with, because there's so much money again, there's issues with trying to get networks to buy a whole tournament, you know. They had some of that issue with the WBSS originally. They weren't making it available to networks to just buy like one certain fight or the semi-finals and the final. They said you're going to buy the lot or you're going to have nothing. So, man, a heavyweight tournament would be the way to sort out the heavyweight division and a lot of the sanctioning bodies. But you know, the WBA tried it years ago and it got like 2 fights in and then that was it. And that's one of the reasons why we've got this WBA regular title floating around all over the place. I think Shigaev and Lucas Brown was one of the fights in that tournament. Fury and Klitschko was another one. But it all got messed up and it just never happened. Would be great to have it, but it's just not realistic in the heavyweight division. Alright, so that's probably just about it for today. Keep an eye out on this Michael Polite Coffee. If he gets the right fights, I think he's going to be the next big thing coming out of America. If he gets pushed along with the right opponents, he needs to start aiming for some names, not necessarily the top of the stack fighters, but guys who have been near the top. Adari mentioned a fight earlier, a Michael Polite Coffee versus Christian Hammer. I think that's the right type of fight for Coffee next. We'll see where he goes. And also keep an eye out to see whether Don King comes out squeaky clean in this lawsuit from Manuel Cha. But Manuel Cha has to fight. Oh, Trevor Bryan has to fight Manuel Cha, or have a fight organised by May 30th. If he wants to hang on to that meaningless belt, even though it has all the heritage in the WBA regular title. Got a couple of heavyweight dust-ups coming up in the next few weeks. We've got that Otto Wallen and Dominic Brazil fight on the Adrian Broner undercard. Very interesting fight. We'll see how that goes. And we've also got the Joseph Parker and Junior Farr fight coming up at the end of February as well. So that's pretty much it from me today. Hope you've enjoyed. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up if you have. And I'll catch you next time around. I'm Jono from Big Boys Boxing, and I'm out. Peace!
And that is a wrap for today. Hope you all enjoyed today's session.
If you have, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel so not to miss future content. If you'd like to get more involved with the channel, off air, and with the subscribers, you can head to the main channel page, and up on the right of the channel banner there is this Discord invite link. Once you click on that, it will take you to the Big Boys Boxing Discord server. Over here we have multiple platforms for chat. We have general chat, which is anything boxing. We have live fight links, where I drop links to fights within 24 hours of them screening. We have live fight replays. I drop the occasional replay here so you can come and watch them. We also have Fight Night Chat, which is for people who play Fight Night Champion. I play a bit of it. You can come and talk strategies, tips, whatever here. But the main thing here is this live panel voice channel. If you ever want to get involved on the live panel on YouTube, this is where it runs from. You come here, simply click on it, and you are in the live chat. And see the green rings come up when I speak. That means your mic is active. Down the bottom here, if you want to mute at any time, you can do so, like that. And if you want to get out at all, there's this hang up button right here. And that's all there is to it. So like I say, I'm Jono from Big Boys Boxing. I will catch you next time. Peace.